All right, we're just about 2 minutes past the official start of the webinar itself. Thank you very much for joining this. My name is Lucas Hupka. I'm with business development at Easy Software. This time I will have a star guest, but more on that later because that's going to be around the product part of the presentation. First of all, the goal of our presentation is to provide a cohesive webinar because we have literally hundreds of people joining this webinar and we need to make sure that it's clear and understandable to everybody. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to talk to your consultants and talk to whoever you can find across the company if you'll have any additional questions throughout this webinar. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the functionality of the Zoom webinar system, please pay attention to the Q&A button on the bottom of this Zoom application. That's the way you can ask questions to us throughout these talks. Now, I'm going to be addressing, or me and my colleague were going to be addressing some of these questions as we go, and we're going to keep some of those longer or more difficult ones to the end of the presentation to sort of keep the flow. I'm going to move on to the agenda itself. First of all, I want to give you a very simple introduction into Easy Software / Easy Redmine and Easy Project, our softwares. Then we're going to move on into the new version 11 changes review. Now, here I want to stress that it's not going to be a full a product presentation or a demo. This is really going to be just scrolling through the changes that we've made, though for those of you that haven't seen the software already, this might be very important as well. And like I said, some questions will be addressed throughout. So moving on into the quick introduction of Easy Redmine or Easy Software itself, we've had a long history in project management, whether that's our founders being from a university and studying project management, or overall utilizing the Redmine, the open source free software that you can find on the internet. Now, our goal has always been to provide the most flexible and professional project management software on the market. That being said, there's some complexity that goes with that as well. And once again, that leads me back to what I said about talking to our consultants and actually using us to help and to support you throughout the process. Recently, one of the additional advantages that we've had on top of being the most flexible and being a professional tool, we also have nice niche advantage in providing an on-premise alternatives. That's something that some of our competitors have stopped doing it, and we definitely intend to keep that. Sort of understanding that there's a lot of universities, government institutions, or overall just big corporates that are unable to switch into the cloud to 100%. Some of those might be wondering if we are planning to keep on doing the on-premise solution. I just wanted to stress out that we indeed are doing that. Now, we have been growing rapidly over the past few years even. We've been acquiring big clients. We've started working on huge projects. Internally, we grew to nearly 100 people, just full-time working on the software itself, which led us to making some changes. Some of you, as this webinar itself is focused on Easy Redmine, some of you might have already noticed that there's another software developed by Easy Software as well, and that's called Easy Project. Rest assured, Easy Redmine and Easy Project are completely identical softwares. There are literally no differences between them, no user interface differences, no technical differences. The only difference there is sort of our marketing segment and marketing targeting that sort of connects throughout these softwares. So whether you've sort of wandered in and you're interested in Easy Project and you feel like you don't need to listen to an Easy Redmine webinar, stay here because it's very important for you as well. Easy Redmine itself came with new licensing. I'm not sure where you came from. Some of you might be very new. Some of you might be sort of exploring Easy Redmine for several months now. So you might know that our previous pricing looked a little bit different. We recently switched into the more standard structure of having 3 licenses. And I think it's not a problem for me to just quickly share this, just to give you an idea how that looks, because some time ago it would be much more complicated for us because we used to have a full list of plugins to choose from, and at some point trying to deliver many combinations of the software to many of our clients became way too complicated. Because of that, we moved here. I'm sort of highlighting this because we've had webinars in the past where we had questions on how does the plugin distribution change across this change of the pricing itself. For you, there's nothing easier than just scrolling down and sort of scrolling through this complete feature list of our software, and you can easily understand what part of the software sort of belongs into which category or into which license level. This is something that I wanted to highlight at the very start of the webinar, because I feel like there might be some questions throughout the call that could have been easily answered by me just showing this. Once again, before we dive into changes themselves, I want to make sure that you know that we prefer you to reach out after the call. We prefer you to talk to a consultant. We prefer you to get a software presentation or a demo from us, because we understand how important the personal touch is. We want to do it. It's not like anyone bothers us when they request a demo. It's not like anyone bothers us when they ask us questions online. We completely understand that it's super necessary and we want to be doing business this way. This would be for me the closeout of the sort of overall opening of the webinar. So I guess this would be the time for our guest to take over. So allow me to introduce you to Jan Řeřicha, whose name is difficult to pronounce to anyone who isn't in Czech Republic. So I'm going to do it for you. Now, Jan, or as we Czech call him, Honza. Honza, you can take over and start with the changes if you wish.
Okay, thank you, Lukáš. So I'm gonna share my screen. You should be able to see it now.
I see release notes. Looks good.
Great. And as Lukáš said, I will not go through all the features that Easy Redmine has. I will just go through the release notes for version 11. And let's start with the technological stack that we have. As for the operational system, we are running on Debian 10 or 11. As for the Redmine compatibility, we are obviously database compatible with Redmine. Unfortunately, Redmine was not able to adapt Rails 6. We did that. From version 11, we have Rails 6, which is, let's say, a little or soft fork of Redmine. But as I said at the beginning, don't worry about the data migration from Redmine to Easy Redmine. These are still database compatible. From the other parts, we are running on Ruby 2.6. And as for the database, we are running on Percona. A little change over here. We used to support Postgre as well, but from the version 11 on, we are supporting just Percona. Big topic, new design. Easy Redmine used to be red. Now in version 11, both of our products, Easy Redmine and Easy Projects, are blue. So you already probably saw this blue login page with the blue menus, which are taken from Easy Project. We believe that the layout in Easy Project was better and more ergonomic, so we are bringing it to the Easy Redmine as well from the version 11. As for the email notifications, which is an important topic, there is a lot of things going on in Easy Redmine, and obviously we want to be notified about them. This is how the email notifications look like. They have some standardized structure. As for the subjects of the email, when you receive, or when the new task is created, when you receive a new task as the assignee, or when some of the tasks is updated, or when some of the tasks that you are assigned to is updated. So these are the standardized subjects, and you can adjust your email client configuration according to that. There are some changes in custom branding. For you, it's probably just important to know that we are offering the service of custom branding. So your application can get your company logo and company feel. Uh, Moving on to the dynamic filters, it's a relatively big topic, big change for us in version 11. To show them, let me switch to the trial application that I created a few days ago. Um, these are the dynamic filters. This is basically main view on the data that we have in the application. Like right now, I'm looking at the list of the tasks that we have in my application. You see there are some filters, so I'm looking just at the tasks that are open at the moment. The way how these dynamic filters work is that I'm able to add some other criteria to filter the database. For example, I'm adding that I want to see just the tasks where I am the assignee. So assignee is me, let's apply it. And after the data is loaded, you can see I have all the tasks that are assigned to me. There are some more options for sorting the tasks. You see it here. I think it's pretty straightforward. Searching for the tasks. Yeah, pretty standard functionality for us. There were some, let's say, changes on the development side. We believe this is much quicker and much more faster to work with compared to the previous filters. So this is already shown. As for the text editor, we implemented CK Editor 5. It's honestly much faster than the previous one was. So I hope that will work for you well. In version 11, we are bringing stakeholders feature. As you know, the stakeholders are, let's say, one of the essential parts of the project management. I will just quickly show you what the stakeholders in Easy Redmine are about. So I have the project over here. Obviously, in the context of the project, I have all the tasks that I'm working on. I can show WBS or Gantt or spend time reports. And the new tab is over here, stakeholders. And the stakeholders is basically a list of the people that are somehow affected by the project. There is, let's say, some dividing line, because some of the people affected by the project, we already have them in the application as users or user accounts. Some of those user accounts might be members of this project. And this functionality of the stakeholders is just to bring some people, let's say external, who are not users, who are not members of this project, just a simple evidence of the people that are somehow influencing the project. So I can either create a new stakeholder. This is basically creating a new personal contact. So the standard fields that you would expect for a personal contact. And from the people that you've already added or created in the application, you can add them to your concrete project. So if I search here, I have, for example, Donald Trump. I can specify some role and save it. And that's how I can create the list of the stakeholders that are influencing the project. Lukasz, do you have anything to add right now?
Not much for the moment. We've had some questions coming in, but these are sort of more general ones. So I would rather address them, at the Q&A part after this one, because it would just sort of not interact well with the flow. My only point is that, like I said, the server solution is definitely a niche for us. And we have suggested our clients to use Postgre, the database before, which we have now sort of discontinued. So we definitely expect several questions. Then again, if there is, or we expect that several joining people here have not purchased Easy Redmine already, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Now, like I said, when it comes to technical stuff, do not hesitate to reach out to support@easysoftware.com with further technical questions. We'll be happy to help. I'll make sure to repeat all of these mailboxes throughout the process several times to make sure you catch them. I think that's it from me for the moment.
Okay, so I will then move on with the SSO support. We are supporting two protocols, SAML and OAuth. As you know, SAML is what Azure AD is using, so we are compatible with Azure Active Directory. Project owner, project manager, we just thought that some custom fields that were very often created in Easy Redmine, actually by almost all of our clients, should be brought to the application as the native fields. So from version 11, all the projects that you create will have these two fields, project owner and project manager. For those of you who were already using Easy Redmine, if you already created a custom field called Project Manager, and now you will come across the native field Project Manager, there is a little tool, Custom Field Migrator, which will help you to basically take the data from your existing custom field and to move them to the new native field. Talking about exports and imports, this is difficult topic. Exports and imports are very demanding as for the server performance. In version 11, we brought asynchronous features. This is both for export and import. The reason is not to block the work of the users that are working with the application and schedule the exports, the bigger exports and bigger imports into, let's say, night hours when the traffic in the application is not so big. Talking again about the notifications, for some of you that tried our trials before, you probably realized that there is a lot of email notifications coming from Easy Redmine. We tried to simplify that. We are basically batching the notifications, so not all the changes of the attribute will trigger the notification. We are waiting, let's say, for 15 minutes until you probably did all the changes on the task, and only after that we are sending the notification where everything is summarized. Obviously, there are some exceptions, for example, for the mentions. When you mark some user, the notification is sent immediately. One of the best parts about Easy Redmine is its home pages and pages customization options. Creating your dashboards, home pages, and reports. In this area, I want to say that we basically have these types of reports or outputs: list, which is the table; report, which is basically a pivot table; bar chart, line chart, and pie chart. You can choose whichever of them you want. Then you select the entity, for example, projects or tasks, and that's what you display on your homepage. You saw it when I worked with the trial just a few minutes before. Okay, project overview and project controls. There's just a new module that we brought on the project overviews. So project overview is a customizable page where I can basically extract the most important information about the project from all the other modules, like from the tasks, from the spend time, from the stakeholders, and so on. And this is basically a view of the super important information about the project on a project level. So I can see for this project called Stakeholders, who is the author when it starts, who is the project manager, and stuff like that. These are the native fields, so they are the same in all the applications. Under the line, we are showing the custom fields. So these department, country, and product, these are custom fields. They were created by the administrator of this application. You can specify what values should be offered in this list. And that's really strong functionality of Easy Redmine. And we wanted to make the reporting for the project managers a little better. Okay, upgraded meeting calendar. Nothing really unexpected there. We had a little different way of the calendar. Now we move the calendar button here to the top menu, so it is accessible all the time, because calendar is something that you work with really often. From going from version 10 to version 11, there were, let's say, relatively big changes. So administration and some configuration options were changed a little bit. We removed some configurations, but we added some features as well. As for the resource management, we have a new report. So let me just show that. Resource reports. So I'm just going to the dashboard for the resource management. You probably are familiar with this resource management view where I have all the users in the application. I have their capacity, so 40 hours per week over here. And I also see how many hours of work was already allocated for them. So in this case, I can see that I plan 40 hours of work for this user for this week, which is actually ideal. In version 11, we are bringing this new, let's say, chart view on the same data. So over here, you can see that I'm looking at Danny developer. We are looking at May 2021 time period. I have the information grouped by week. So this is week 17, week 18, week 19, and so on. And for each of those weeks, I'm able to see what is the capacity of Danny developer. So in this case, it is 40 hours. And I see how much work we scheduled for him. So this is the green portion of the chart. So allocations 2 hours. And I see that he did not spend any time in this week yet. So spend time 0 hours. This report is really handy when it comes to balancing the capacity of your department, of your people. So over here, I see that the spend time, 50 hours, is actually bigger than the capacity of the worker. So there were some overtimes in this week. In this week, I can see that I have this Danny developer booked for some project for 32 hours. On the other hand, I see that in this week, Danny has capacity to work, but I have not allocated any work for him yet, so I should better do it. So that's resource dashboard and new way of resource management report. Moving on to the help desk improvements. As the requirements for the security are growing and growing, when you are connecting some mailbox to Easy Redmine so that Easy Redmine creates tickets or tasks from the emails that you received in your mailbox. In order to connect that mailbox, now you can use O Authentication. So improvement in the security. There are smaller changes to email templates. You can now link them to more than just one status. Moving on to the agile project management and to the Kanban view, pretty popular feature. One of the best practices for Kanban is to limit how many tasks or items you can have in one column. So we brought that to Easy Redmine version 11. So you can set up task limit for each of the columns that you have on your Kanban board. And finally, diagrams. I will show them here. I have a task over here. If I go to the menu, I can create a diagram. My new save it, and it will actually redirect me to a service where I can create diagrams pretty easily. Some org charts, some processes, basically anything is possible with diagrams. Pretty handy feature for the processes related to the operations of the company. So let's save it. Let's see what it looks like on the task. You can see that on the task, I have this section of the diagrams. This is the link to my diagram, and I can also create a link that contains the diagram. I can copy it to clipboard and basically post it anywhere in the application. So maybe to a comment of some other task, maybe to description of some project, maybe to knowledge base, basically wherever I want. Okay, Lukáš, and I think that was the only thing that was left. So these are the new things in Easy Redmine version 11.
Very nice. We've got quite a few versions prepared. Some of those are asked by what it shows me an anonymous attendee, so I can't really call the name, but whatever. The first one is, will the registration be available after the presentation conclusion? Now, I'm not sure which presentation you mean exactly. If you're talking about getting a trial account or getting the online demo, for both there is a simple resolution. Just go into easyredmine.com, starting a trial account. That gets you the trial account, and as soon as you start a trial account, there will be a consultant reaching out to you within the next 2, maximum 3 working days, and you'll be able to set up additional calls or demos with this person to learn more about the software. Now, I've also seen a question on when is this going live, and Honza, if I'm not mistaken, this went live last Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 2 weeks ago. So this version 11 is already available on the trials. So when you create new trial, it will be on this version 11.
Mm-hmm. So if there's anyone that's going to go and start a trial account now, they're going to get the new version, correct?
Yes.
Very nice. So I have a few more questions focused on the software itself. The first one is, in the new version, will be there any options to customize the body of notification emails?
No, it's not possible. Body is always the same. It contains the changes. It might contain the comment, but there are no options to customize that.
There's one more. As you mentioned, there's a possible SSO solution for Azure. Does the new version support O365 integration, or will it support in the future? Now, I think we've done Azure SSOs before, and I also know that we're internally planning to sort of take the integration with Microsoft products much further in the future, which leads me to believe that this is going to happen, but we don't have any specific dates, right?
We don't have a specific date, and the question was pretty specific, so I'm not sure if I'm knowledgeable enough to answer precisely. So it would probably be better to ask the same question via email to the sales representative, so we can really
Mhm.
make sure that we get the right answer.
Once again, though, we definitely plan to connect the software very much with Microsoft services. We've begun internally recently with implementing MS Teams. We're going to be using that for the foreseeable future. So, yeah, if you're running on Microsoft, you're on the same boat as us.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take another one. In the new version, has any effect changed, or does the new version have any effect or change on the already created easy pages and dashboards? Which means if you're already running an easy Redmine account, if it's gonna mess it up.
No, the dashboards will stay the same. The change is in the fact that you won't be able to create the dashboards in the old way. You will be forced to create them in the new way that I talked about. Uh, yeah, but that's it. The old reports stay the same.
Hmm. There have been additional questions on the version 11. For example, if it's mandatory or not. So I think this is a good idea, good time to sort of present the options for our existing clients that would like to stay with the previous version.
Uh, so until recently, we were on the version 10. The version 10 now became version 10 LTS, long-term support. So we are definitely supporting version 10 until, let's say, the end of the first half of 2022. Um, it will be possible to migrate from version 10 to version 11 if you already have version 10 right now. Uh, After July this year, there will be an option to migrate in the first wave that will be in the summer. We call that opt-in campaign. So you can choose if you want to be migrated to version 11. Then in the autumn or in the winter this year, we will upgrade all the remaining applications to the version 11. And this point of time, we are calling it opt-out campaign. So if you don't want, for some reason, to join the latest version of Easy Redmine 11, you have that option. You have to communicate it to your uh, sales representative, to your account manager.
Yeah, there have been questions on this topic. For example, how does the new pricing model affect the old one? As in, what happens to customers who still have the old pricing model? And that's something, once again, probably more targeted towards me and towards the sales department. And we definitely don't plan to cause any issues for existing clients. This is something that we had to do in order to keep growing and sort of make sure that we can focus on projects and improving the software rather than just keep trying to figure out all these combinations of solutions that we initially had. The easiest thing to do is, once again, to reach out to sales@easysoftware.com and figure this out, because we probably will have to like manually fit you into one of these new licenses based on the plugins that our existing clients are running. That's something that we obviously took into account when we were sort of brainstorming and workshopping all these changes. So we're very much ready for all these transitions and making sure it's as nice for our clients as possible. Which leads me to another question by Jack, and that is that they have a domain xxx.easyredmine.com, right? And they're asking whether or not they will be automatically updated to version 11. If I'm not mistaken, if they are not using any of the features that we are going to drop or discontinue, then there is no problem with them just transitioning. If they're using any of the plugins that we will discontinue, then they will have the sort of the final decision if they want to stay with version 10 or move to 11.
Yeah. Also, you can decide to upgrade uh, as one of the first ones. Let's say in July and after,
Mm-hmm.
we will force the upgrade in the autumn.
There has been a question on when the updates files will be available for on-premise installations. I believe
it's in July as well.
yeah, it's in July. Like if there's anyone super sort of excited and interested, they can reach out to support@easysoftware.com and figure this out along with sales. But our preference is to take a bit more time and really polish the solution because like you guys have seen at the beginning of this presentation, there are several changes to the overall environment. For example, the database, right? Like we've moved to the new version of Ruby on Rails, and I think it's a good idea to sort of take a second and wait until it's all 100% polished.
Yeah, basically to join in not version 11.0, but to join in version 11.1.
Mm-hmm. That has been our plan, though we understand if anyone wants to test it out with us on prem, then by all means we welcome any assistance we can get.
Yeah.
Once we're on the topic, there's a question from Christopher, and that's: do external plugins need to be migrated to Rails 6 or Ruby 3? Are there any specific dependencies now? So my line of thought was our plugins are always updated to this version, right?
Yeah. Chris, honestly, this question is really technical for me. I'm not sure about the answer. I know that the server configuration for version 11 needs to be a little different than for versions 10. Uh, Probably yes. My guess is that you will have to migrate the external plugins to Rails 6 Ruby 3. But please let's discuss it in the emails or some other way.
Just to be sure where we stand overall, when it comes for our plugins such as the resource management or the CRM that we're planning, anything that we release, obviously we guarantee that it's going to be working with the rest of the system. That's what we do. However, if you're gonna take Easy Redmine and host it on your own server and try to apply any unofficial Redmine plugins that we have nothing to do with, at that point we obviously cannot 100% guarantee that it's going to work with our platform. So at that point, all our clients need to understand that they're sort of doing that uh, by their own will, so to speak.
Yeah.
Another question from Christian once I'm in the chat, and that will there be any adjustments to the dark theme because it's not as nice at the moment? I think that's purely because the dark theme was designed for the old look of Easy Redmine, and I believe we have focused on some of the other changes and transitions. So it's possible that the dark theme sort of left overlooked for the moment, but I would assume that this is going to change in the near future as well.
Yes, the dark theme is definitely in the scope for version 11 to continue. There will probably be some refinements, but we are not dropping dark theme. It will continue. It will be in version 11.
There's a quick question to answer. Sorry, I joined the meeting late due to a conflict with another meeting. Will you provide a link? Definitely. We're recording this and it's going to be published eventually. I would sort of suggest to keep an eye on our website and on our socials as well, just to make sure you don't miss the link. Can we do trial for now and then later in July merge data with our old version, opt into new version? Now, this is probably, if you're going to do the trial now, if you're going to open it now, you're going to have the new version already.
Yes, you will have the version 11 already, but I'm thinking of whether there will be a need to merge the two databases, like the old database and the new database that comes from the trial. And merging databases is always tricky, and we recommend to avoid it. So I would suggest to set up a trial for version 11 to try the functionalities. I think we could even be able to, if you share the database that you currently have with us, we can upload it to your trial. That is possible. But we are trying to avoid basically creating some work in one database, other work in the other database, and then trying to merge the databases together. That's always problematic.
A question from Alexander that updates in Russian and English are different, and there is no information about version 11 on the Russian page. This is purely just us sort of communicating with our partner that is doing the Russian translations, and it's going to get there eventually as well. And I believe it doesn't sort of limit you to get the version 11 later. It's just that there are some steps that we need to take in between. Another question on when will this be available? Once again, it has been released 2 weeks ago, so you can get it by starting a trial account. A question from Matthew. Hi, will it be possible to migrate whole projects from previous Easy Redmine version to Easy Redmine 11? So just specific projects, that shouldn't be a problem, right?
Specific projects. Not sure. Let's talk about it via email. There are a lot of dependencies, so I can't answer right here.
Once again, though, if they have Easy Redmine 10 and they have projects in it and they want to go to Easy Redmine 11, they're not losing their projects.
They're not losing it. The question is if we are, let's say, upgrading the whole database, or we just want to move one specific project and import it into some other application that is running on version 11. That's where it gets complicated.
Is there a chance to integrate the software, with Slack or Trello for notifications? I believe as long as both of those softwares work with APIs, then the integration is possible.
Exactly. We have the API. We are also working with Zapier, with Integromat, with services like that. So theoretically, yes, concrete question should be asked to the account manager. We need to know the exact flow, like what happens when something is triggered. So
okay, thanks.
Workflow and scenario is needed for that.
There's a few questions sort of more targeted towards specific changes that we've done. We're going to get to them in just a second. There's a question from Pascal on what's when running on our own server. I unfortunately do not understand the question. Once again, with technicalities, just reach out to support@easysoftware.com. And in case there would be any language barrier, we can do Spanish, we can do German, we can do Hungarian, we can do Portuguese if I'm not mistaken. So reaching out to support in your own language should help you sort of get the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, but the overall recommendation is if you already have some application running on your server right now, probably version 10. In July, in your client zone, you should be able to see the package for version 11. We strongly recommend to create some staging. So separately from the production setup version 11, as I said, there will be some differences in server configuration. So first, make sure you have everything running correctly. And only after that, it's recommended to move the database from the old application to the new application that is running on version 11. So basically to flip the staging to the production.
A question from Balazs. Will the new version of Easy Redmine affect the REST API? That's the first part. I will read the second once we answer. So if they have any existing API integrations, it's going to carry over into the V11, right?
Yeah, it should. It should.
Okay, the second part of it is, will there be any restrictions or new/removed features?
Removed features are not in version 11, meaning that if you want to keep some feature that is being discontinued, you cannot upgrade to version 11, and you will stay on Easy Redmine version 10 LTS, then maybe Eternal. We have discussions with a lot of companies who are surrounding us, with our partners. So I'm sure there will be some replacements for the discontinued plugins.
And the two major ones are probably the budgets and cash flow. And the second one would be requirements management. even though there is like a sort of a note to requirements management where we're sort of working on.
Yeah, we are working on that, trying to figure it out.
Mhm. A few questions on stakeholders.
Mhm.
In the question from Martina, in the stakeholders feature, is it possible to add relevant notes and address them to them? As in
It's possible.
probably specific messages sent to stakeholders. Me personally, I would think that this still sort of has to happen throughout the chat itself.
Yeah, this is not a message to the stakeholder. So you can, the field is role description is just basically a text that is associated with the relation between stakeholder or the personal contact and the project.
Mhm.
But this doesn't mean that anything is sent to this email, this via email or chat. This is just for the project manager to have one place where he can basically list all the people that are involved with the project, but it's just for the evidence. It's not really for the communication itself.
So if you're looking to communicate with them, you still probably have to use your Rocket Chat, Trello, Microsoft Teams, email, whatever channel you use internally.
Yes, exactly.
All right, there's something going on behind. Sorry, I'm just going to mute myself for a second until I find the next question. There is another one on stakeholders, and that's, do the stakeholders have access to the project, for example, Gantt, even if they don't have an easy Redmine account?
No, these stakeholders are not really users of the application, therefore they don't have login and password. Uh, Therefore, basically, Donald Trump doesn't even know that some Easy Redmine instance exists. So no, they have zero access to the application.
Fair enough. That would be it on the stakeholders. There's a question. Will the new, from Samuel, will the new text editor change anything about our existing help desk headers, footers, and templates?
Hmm. Depending on what kind of text editor you used before, I believe if you used CK Editor 4, then there should not be any differences. Transition from CKA 4 to 5 should be really smooth. It's possible that you used Markdown or Textile, then it might be more difficult and we would need to talk about it separately.
Mhm. A quick question. I'm gonna just, there's a lot of question sort of piling up, and I don't think we're gonna get through all of them. So I'm just gonna pick a few. Is it possible within a project to limit or exclude access to specific tasks for specific members of the project? That shouldn't be a problem in general, correct?
Exclude the access. First of all, the access to the spend time information, for example, is defined by if the user is member of the project. So only the members of the project can see inside the project. And the level of what they can see in the project or how deeply into the project they can see is defined by roles and permissions. So it's different if I'm in the project as CEO, which is the name of the role, or if I'm in the project as project manager.
Mm-hmm.
Specific configuration of that depends on the roles and permissions. Uh, Specifically for the spend time, you can either see just your own spend time, or you can see spend time of all the people in the project, not overall in everywhere in the application.
Mm-hmm. Once we're on the roles, there's a question. What differentiates a project owner and a project manager? Now, this is purely on the setting of the application. For us, it's just a different permissions. For example, project owner can do everything in the project. Project manager probably cannot delete the whole project, for example, but this is completely customizable as you wish. So once again, this is probably a topic for the online demo, so we don't go too deep into it right here, but this is very much something you can set up. Go ahead, Honza.
I will add something more onto that. These two fields, project manager and project owner, are just uh, for tracking who is responsible for the project. You can basically choose between any users in the application to be selected in this field. So in other words, what is in this field doesn't have any effect on the visibility or security or how much data you can access. All of that is defined again by the project membership if you let the person into the project, and also by the roles and permissions. So these two fields are just something that was used commonly on the project as custom fields. So we have them as the native fields right now, but they do not determine what the users can do or cannot do.
Mm-hmm. There's a question from Sarah. I was expecting changes to the CRM plugin. Is there anything expected on that? And that's a big topic for us internally, right?
So yes, you should be expecting the uh, we call it B2B CRM. It's basically CRM 2.0 for us. Uh, it is not available right now. The CRM is actually bigger than, yeah, it's really a huge project. So we were not able to release it right now in May. We are working on it, and it will be available in fall. So yeah, and there are really huge changes. It's almost completely different system. So yeah, looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm. We've got about 7 minutes left until the 1 hour mark. So I guess like one or two questions before we close this out. There is one specific one uh, sort of aimed towards one of the changes that we've done. It says, at the help desk part, you showed the Google O Authentication function. Is this a sort of functional extension of the currently used method, or is it going to change as well? As in, we've had that before, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess if our clients already have it set up, for example, if it's gonna mess up with their existing settings.
No, I'm not sure about this specific thing, but it's possible that it was released slightly before version 11. It was already there. There might be some cosmetical changes to that. So I'm not really sure how to answer that.
I think it's safe to say that we're not sort of releasing anything that should mess up our existing applications or existing client. That's, for us, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-go. The last thing we want to do is have this sort of big excitement about the new version that would completely sort of mess things up for many of our clients. So that's, you can rest assured that we've paid a lot of attention to that.
Also, maybe the question was targeted at the SSO that I spoke about as well is meant for the login into the application. This OAuth is just to be able to access the mailbox for the mail securely.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it was about that as well.
All right, there's a few questions on upgrading from 10 to 11. So once again, for servers, just wait until July or reach out to support@easysoftware.com. For any of you that are not sure how to proceed with getting the version 11, contact your sales representative. If you do not have if you do not have any contact already, just send an email to sales@easysoftware.com. Where I would like to say we're pretty flexible in sort of distributing these based on the region and language spoken. So that shouldn't be a problem for us at all. So maybe just close this out with one quick question on EasyGant, and that's if we're planning to put in a quarterly view instead of the week, month, year. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't think we were going to do that.
No, there are no changes into Gantt going from version 10 to version 11. I've heard this request, but at the moment haven't decided to implement that. So no,
Mhm.
it's actually not on the roadmap even.
And is it going to be possible to sort of push or plan tasks beyond the date of the associated milestone?
Um, Setting up the due date of the task behind the date of the milestone is possible. It depends on the checkbox which is in the global configuration for the application.
Mhm. I think we've gone through everything that we're able to answer right here. Once again, there are several questions that we might not be able to answer sort of on the fly or live. So for that purpose, once again, support at easysoftware.com or sales at easysoftware.com. Now, I just want to sort of mention again, if you haven't started a trial account, do that. Do that. Really, that's by far the easiest way to start this off, simply because you can see the software. That's one thing. And for the second, starting the trial account will also obviously create a contact in our internal system, and it will assign a sales consultant for you, and someone will reach out, and you will have a dedicated person that will be able to take you further and help you with your requirements. By all means, challenge us with your workflows, challenge us with your requirements. We're very confident that our software is one of the most flexible tools you can find in this specific market. Same for the professionalism. We're sort of following all these professional IPMA, PMI methodologies to make sure our software is compliant with these. Plus, like we've mentioned several times, we can also do on-premise, which is something that hasn't been as usual recently, to my surprise. I think I think this is everything I wanted to talk about today, as it's 58 minutes past the start date, so we're getting very nicely close to the 1 hour mark. Jan, is there anything you want to talk about before we close this out?
No, thank you, Lukáš. Thank you, all the guests, for your questions, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Oh yeah, stay safe, stay healthy. That's a good one. All right. Thank you, everyone, once again. Everybody, have a nice morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We appreciate that you took the time to look at us and listen to us speak. We appreciate it always, because I know it's not always that nice to listen to us. That's just a personal preference. And yeah, have a good one. I'm going to be closing this now. I'm going to stop the recording, and yeah, enjoy the day.